Welcome to Cody in the Cinema. Today I'm reviewing Shadow of a Doubt, the 1943 Alfred Hitchcock classic, which is quickly becoming one of my favorites of his. I find that I keep saying that as I rewatch or watch his films, but this one hit a different mark altogether, I think, than a few of his other big name pictures do, and I really like it. And the first time I saw it, it was many years ago. I just bought this masterpiece collection, I think from a Sam's Club. And it has the little booklet here. So you can see this little Shadow of a Doubt insert from the booklet. Hitchcock had often said that this film was his personal favorite. Before I started filming, I just read that. And it was cool because it came with all these different poster arts meshed together. But Shadow of a Doubt, when I first saw it, which actually it looks like the DVD copy is actually missing out of here. That's creepy. But when I first saw it, I didn't love everything about it, but I did love the main character. And to this day, I think Joseph Cotten's performance in this film has held up as one of the most remarkable in that old Hollywood canon. So if you are unfamiliar with the film, this is a black and white that's going to be a little similar to other Hitchcock pictures in terms of a killer being on the loose, and in this case it's Joseph Cotten, who is Charlie, Uncle Charlie as he's going to be known, and he's evading some cops, and what he has to do is he has to actually leave the East Coast and go over to California where he has some other family. Notably, his niece, played by Teresa Wright, who is like young Charlie, or she's named after him, and she just has this great affection for him and obviously doesn't know that he's a killer, but we do. And there are terrific early shots in the picture where he just kind of is stationary on the bed and smoking, and the landlady's kind of comically trying to talk to him about some people that are looking for him. That kicks all this off, but I was trying to think of a few different films that have truly psychotic, deranged, evil characters that stick to your ribs. And one of those, the performance from Joseph Cotten, does remind me a little bit of Antoine Chigurh in No Country for Old Men, which has that terrific Criterion release. And the scene in the gas station where he just methodically talks to the man and you can feel the menacing presence, that happens when Cotten speaks and he's no longer trying to play specifically a nice guy. Okay. One piece of this performance that crept up on me in a different way than it did 12 years ago or however long it's been since I've seen it. I have looked a lot lately at the terrifying Pasolini film, Salò, The 120 Days of Sodom. And part of what makes that movie so disturbing, apart from all of its visuals, and that is just the way the fascist will quote these random academic figures or ideas almost to justify their own insanity by simply sounding or thinking that they are smart and intelligent, and they kind of hide behind this cloak of intellectualism. And Joseph Cotten's character does that to a point. Not quite as overtly as Pasolini's picture with those characters, but he'll just say stuff that he thinks is so profound, but it's really just bone-chilling to listen to. And of course, well-written screenplay there by Thornton Wilder. And the contrast of that happens with the women who are kind of the heroes of the story. Say what you will about Hitchcock and some of his weaker women characters, but they're pretty good in this one. There's a interesting few minutes that are really dedicated to this young girl named Anne, who's just this curious book reader, and she's always going to the library. That's commented on later when Teresa Wright's character needs to go to the library and she's running out of time. And I like that the film actually spends a little bit of time encouraging young children to read. I know that might seem like, why does that matter toward the strength of the film? But it adds a wholesomeness to it, because this film, there is a sense that the family is so naive and wholesome that they can't quite deal with the menacing presence that's hiding amongst them. But it's interesting that this theme of search for truth at all cost is sort of reinforced by these young girls' thirst for knowledge. And I really like that about the picture. Now, her older sister Charlie, who ultimately becomes the main hero who's going to work through this situation with her uncle, isn't that kind of like bookworm, but she's just a normal person who wants to see the good in people. And she plays that character very well. She is someone who loves the older Charlie. And her whole world is being shaken. It's a coming-of-age story in the most brutal fashion. She's a normal, young adult who's learning how screwed up the world is all at once, and it's slamming her in the face. While that's happening, the family that surrounds her isn't especially useful. And I said that I was a little bit off-put the first time I watched this many years ago. I did not care for old Hollywood acting back then, but a lot of Roger Ebert, whenever I was reading his review, notes that like there's Teresa Wright, there's Joseph Cotton, and a lot of the other characters are cliches. And that was a little off-putting to me because the acting and so forth can be kind of wooden. But it almost works to the film's advantage because everyone else is like this like fantasy stage acting to the real acting that is between these two characters. And some of the plot, like the way that the plot will sort of stretch reality to help reinforce some of the like wholesome elements of the town. For example, Joseph Cotton walks into the bank and basically like flaunts $40,000. He knows where he got it, and he's able to set up an account immediately. I don't know how plausible. I don't know how plausible that is. The fact that he's, as Ebert notes in his review, that he's so easily able to like evade these cops, and like this story doesn't entirely seem like it could happen if you sit down and think about the plot and want to deconstruct it. But we buy into it because of these performances. And as far as like believable, crazy serial killer kind of stuff, like there are some traps set up by Joseph Cotton in this that Hitchcock takes so much time to carefully frame, and his use of close-ups, it's so effective. And Hitchcock has always been great at like going back to a singular image and helping us to see the importance in it. For example, in Notorious, which I recently watched as well, the wine bottle, that ends up playing, a huge role in the story. There's a ring in this movie that early on doesn't seem like it would have the most significance, but Hitchcock has carefully put these frames in where he zooms in on the ring, and that ends up being important. His use of stairs, many have noted, like how the top of the stairs looking up can be kind of a menacing presence. Like the dog at the top of the stairs in one of his pictures, right, where it's just like staring back down at you. I can't think of the name of the film right now. Maybe I'll add it in the editing. But he's so good at knowing when to zoom in and when to zoom out, and it's incredible here. But I think the reason why I ended up just deciding I wanted to make a full video on this movie is because this is the kind of evil that, especially, I'm sure in the 1940s and even now, is difficult for everyday people to accept, because this is not the evil that you get on a crazy road trip like in Psycho where there's Norman Bates, or it's not this sort of lofty evil that sits atop the Iron Throne of the rich in something like Notorious. No, this is an evil that is with you at your dinner table that you can't get rid of and you may not even know about. And I just want to emphasize, if you have not seen the picture, this is going to be like essential viewing for some of you who like those real creepy, like Night of the Hunter. If you like Night of the Hunter, I think you're going to at least like Joseph Cotton's character in this. So it's a terrific movie, despite some of its flaws, and I've been so happy to go and see it again. Like I said, I watched it. I watched a better copy than this DVD here, but I wonder what happened to my DVD. I don't know. But if you ever do, while I was just have this stuff out, if you ever do get a chance to look at this old masterpiece collection, it's really cool. I might show it off again if I do more Hitchcock videos. Some people still keep it around. So those are my main thoughts on the film, and I really enjoyed it, and I hope you'll give it a try if it's something that you've hesitated on because of its age. If you did enjoy the content today, if you'd like to do me a favor and click that like button. Like buttons do grow YouTube channels. Also, if you haven't subscribed, please consider doing that. I cover all kinds of stuff like this, Criterion movies, sometimes Westerns, film noir. I try to cover that, just a range of movies and movie topics. With that having been said, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Cody in the Cinema.